Go ahead, Harrison.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Thank you for joining us today. We're just going to give a couple minutes here for people to file in, fill up the room. Just like to touch on a couple of housekeeping items real quick. This webinar will be recorded and sent out to the participants after. And yeah, we'll just wait a minute to get started here. Thank you very much.
You can go ahead and cover the housekeeping item if you want.
We'll go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom, and we will answer them either within the webinar or immediately following in the Q&A section. We'll have about a half hour after the presentation to answer those questions. So if it's not answered during the webinar, we'll get to it immediately after. Thank you. All right. I think we're going to get started here. Again, good afternoon, and thank you everybody for attending today's webinar, Bringing Smart Power to Every Home. My name is Harrison Buck with Supplied Energy. We are a solar and HVAC wholesale distributor. We have locations in the St. Louis, Tulsa, Atlanta, and Austin metro areas. We are joined here today by Savant Power to introduce their products, how they work, how they can add value to solar storage and/or generator installations. Thank you again for being here. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to President of Supplied Energy, Kyle Smith.
Awesome, thanks, Harrison. So this is a little bit about us. This is the faces of Supplied Energy, and welcome to the webinar. Thanks for joining us, and we're really happy to have you here with us. Savant Power products are something we feel fit perfect into the world of electrification to come, especially with the IRA that just passed. What was it, Monday? Today's Wednesday, so I think it passed on Monday. And not to say that we know much about the opportunities and tax credits and rebates to come, because there is some complexity, and but things such as air source heat pumps, load center upgrades. Sorry, I don't know if everybody heard that, but my phone's ringing. Anyways, load center upgrades, heat pump, water heaters, geothermal systems, solar. We feel that, I mean, everything that is in that electrification envelope is just now another era of what's the future to come. So, Trevor, would you mind hitting the next slide there, please? So a little bit more on us, and I'll come back to that electrification side of things. But we are a distributor, so that's what we do. We're, simply put, we're a distributor that we get involved in every single aspect as much as we can, in every single project, to help as much as we possibly can with every project. So we offer design services. We want to help be your development partner. We even offer retail sales, and I can explain a little bit more of that offline. Design services as well, especially for Savant. After we discuss today, you're going to learn quite a bit about the products that are associated, and talking about what products they work with and how to apply them into applications and what items are needed to create a bill of materials. We also offer training, on-site training for this product and many others. And then as well as renewable energy planning, pipe fabrication, and geothermal feasibility studies. Next, please. All right, so here's the product categories that Supplied Energy is a part of. And wrapping back into what I was mentioning about the electrification side of things, we're part of HVAC, energy monitoring, water heating, power products, as we refer to them, for generator, solar, storage, and piping and fabrication products, all for fluid energy transfer and energy conservation products, along with energy production products. And we believe that electrification paves the path for moving forward in our future. So Today's segment is that energy monitoring and load management opportunities that Savant Power gives us. Go to the next one there. So this is, you'll probably hear me say this, and if we've met before, I'm sure you've already heard me say it many times, but we believe in a 4-step process. Everything that we do revolves around tightening that envelope. We're the best salespeople for selling insulation. We just don't make a dime and we don't sell it. We believe in spraying the envelope tight, and that gets our loads down as much as we possibly can for our heating, cooling, and hot water. And if you've ever read a report or looked at the average loads of a home, 75% of the loads of a home are cooling, heating, and water heating. If we can handle and maintain and manage those three, the remaining 25% doesn't matter. They can always be upgraded with refrigerators, freezers, TVs, lighting. And so that's just what the conservation of energy products that we believe in. If we remove and lower loads as much as we possibly can, but yet keeping them all electric, when we get to our PV side, our solar side, our load coverage will increase. Our percentage of load coverage will increase as well. So then we believe, as I just mentioned earlier, in generating power with solar, and we offer the racking part of the system, the modules, the inverters, balance the system. But number 4 is the use of storage. And I would have told you that some time ago that storage wasn't very optimistic for us. And now we're selling storage on many projects. A huge percentage of our projects are getting storage accompanying with them. And that really relates to the backup power side that's really taking over the side of generator sales. So how does energy monitoring and load management fit into this concept? Well, it fits into all of these segments. And by being able to manage these loads, let's just say, let's just say the average home has a 200 amp service. If you start bringing in solar, a heat pump, a dryer, electric water heater, those amps of that home are going to be eaten up. And and our thoughts are internally, how are we going to maintain that? How are we going to not suggest that customer upgrade their service to a 320 amp service? And Savant, by using their load management software, we're able to now be able to manipulate those loads and be able to bring in an EV charger, a heat pump, and other things, and bring that on that 200 amp service, and really be able to do a lot of different energy controlling tactics in as it relates to their storage and load center control. So I will shut up. I apologize for rambling. Trevor, it's all yours from here.
Here we go. Well, thank you, Cal. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here at this session. Very excited to partner up with Supplied Energy and sharing some of the technology that we bring to the market. So I'm joined here by Robert Exkander. He's our technical sales manager. And actually, Kevin Hoppert has joined as well today, one of our other technical sales managers. So for any questions, please, as Harrison mentioned earlier, please put them in the Q&A on the chat column and just fire away. We will have an open Q&A or Q&A session at the end of this presentation. So happy to try to answer like anything you've got coming to us. So let's just dive into Savant and our power solutions here. Got the mouse in the right area. So a little bit about Savant. We've been in the smart home solutions business for a good amount of time, roughly 17 years. And just kind of like looking at the numbers here, you can see we're a good sized company. We've got like 900 employees globally. There's a Shanghai area as well, and then the rest of the employees are pretty much spread across the US. We have in our smart home side of the business roughly 3,500 installers worldwide. That's not including any solar installers, electrical contractors, you name it. That's just on the smart home side in which we established a business 17 years ago. Many locations, retail locations, we are involved with, like the Targets and the Lowe's and Amazons of the world as well with certain products. So we have many areas there as well. As you can see here on the bottom end, like active cloud integration. So one of our, I think, highlights in what we do is remote connectivity and connectivity to other companies through the cloud. And as you can see, we have active customers in the 2.2 range, and it's so we've got our own cloud development and own cloud security in place to make sure that people have connectivity to their systems at all times and that it's secure. So as you can tell, like a good sized company, I kind of always bring up everywhere that we've been doing this for a while, and maybe we're a little bit newer in the energy side through partners like Supplied Energy, but the guts of the system, so like the modules that we'll be talking about, we've been building them for several years. And so, as I kind of always mentioned, like we're not trying this out on anyone. We're just like newer in this particular channel, and we've built very specific products for this channel for the solar install electrical contractors to actually have like an easy to deploy system. So it's very established. We got a super reputation in this business already, and we're simply expanding on it. Actually, what's not even like on any of these slides, but what is I think a great highlight as well. Just a little over 2 years ago, we purchased a small company, me being sarcastic here, GE Lighting, residential lighting. So we acquired a very, very impressive company and got a lot of expertise in house and kind of like a platform to really to bring our solutions to many more clients out there, but also have like a quality build product, like really having them help us build products for us, costing and such. So just to give you an idea like of the company we are. So I kind of said it already, but like Savant for like 17 years now, we really built ourselves like the #1 brand in anything that's related to smart home. We're very much known for like the best application, the iOS or Android app in the industry, and we're simply taking that experience into the smart energy side of it as well. So we've got you'll see some of the slides that Robert and I will be going through, like some of these like beautiful designed slides that are true and tested like on customers out there and alpha systems and beta systems. And yeah, again, we're just simply carrying that forward into these energy solutions as well. So as Carla actually already mentioned, there's a lot of demand there, and luckily we've got now some new or what you call it, new opportunities coming to us as well. Clients are being incentivized to like make their properties smart, make them energy efficient, and really like we're just simply like here at the right time, I think. You can see here, we're expecting to have about 21 million electrical vehicles in 2025. That means that we have to do a heck of a lot of work to our grid to be able to sustain all these EV chargers on the house. It simply cannot be done by just the grid. We need solutions on our roof. We need storage to be able to charge these electrical vehicles over time. Another number fact here for 2030, it is expected that 13% of the household of the 22 million homes will have solar systems on them. Pretty much every solar system should have a battery solution on it and a smart panel solution on it as well, and so on. Like you can see, like there's many reasons why we need to be smarter about the energy generation, but also energy consumption. And this is where we address the market as well. And it's not just because of the power outages like we show here. There's also like prices are going up and down. People want to be more smart about how they spend their money. And again, the market is ever so much growing, and I think we need to like be simply smart about how we consume and how we generate energy. And so here that some of the best companies in the industry are coming together to bring your clients the best solution. So in our view, many items or many solutions in a household are part of an electrical footprint in the house, and they all consume electricity at any given time. Even if they're not on. For example, if you look here in the center, like the entertainment icon, that's your TV. If that TV is on, at any given time, that is a vampire load that will actually draw from your either generation of electricity, like your solar, or will be drawing from the battery. So we would say in our environment, like no house is smart until they actually have like a smart electrical panel, battery backup, solar on their installation as well. So like this makes it really the entire house or property smart with energy. So just a little bit of a note here. So let's get into like what we do. So we're besides building all sorts of smart technologies, we build parts that go into your standard electrical panel. And basically what we're doing is we're making the electrical panel that we all know that's been very much like standard, very old style design, and we're making that smart. So let's get into this. Basically what we're showing here, like on the left-hand side, is like how you would generate electricity or how you bring electricity into your house. You've got your utility grid, and most folks are on the grid. We do see like quite a few installations going in these days with Savant Power that are actually like totally off grid, but most houses are still connected to the grid. We've got solar generation there, we got battery backup, and possibly even or a generator on the property as well. And on the far right side, you see it like, okay, the demand inside the property. So like all of your electrical devices in a household that are drawing that energy. So in the center is where Savant comes in. Like we have our software and our hardware that make these two pieces, these two elements on the each side really smart. And our software manages the, let's say, the influx of energy into a system, but also like manages like, okay, what is the demand in the house at any given time as well. And we can, with our software, respond to certain power events. Think of like, hey, the grid is down and we're going to solar, over to just solar or battery. Let's actually like turn some of these non-critical loads up. We'll get into that more in detail in a moment. Like Cal, it's like all sorts of things buzzing around me. So I'm taking my smartwatch off as well, so don't get too distracted. But that's essentially what Savant does. We're bringing always in any kind of installation, like bringing pieces together and making really easy to use for clients. And that's essentially what we're doing. You can always control these devices independently, but then you have like 10 different apps on your phone or your iPad, Android device to manage like all of these different solutions around the house. We bring that together in a super easy to use application. So the way we see it, there are 4 opportunities here for each one of your clients. In some cases, clients just want to be aware of what they're consuming in the house. Like I can see in my property exactly what I'm using per circuit. So maybe that's enough for certain clients. They just want to know. Possibly they're seeing some in strange or extreme usage on certain days, or it went up at a certain time. And through our software, we can actually like highlight areas where like energy consumption is extremely high. And think of like, hey, you know what? Somebody in the vacation home left the refrigerator or the freezer wide open and it's just consuming an extraordinary amount of energy. Like we can actually highlight this in our software. So that's kind of like the first layer that we see where like these solutions come into play. That's not where we stop. We can also like use our system, like our modules in the electrical panel, for simply like a generator application. We'll go a little more into detail as well. So for in certain areas of the country, and maybe that's not everywhere for the folks that were on the phone with us today, but in certain areas, like especially where I am in New York City, north of New York City, pretty much every house has a generator as a backup. So we have solutions there as well. Solar, if it's simply like just a solar application, you should certainly look into like Savant Power Solutions as well. Or if it's like a battery, and typically the battery will go with the solar application. But these are, like we said, like are the 4 typical applications. So I kind of wanted to show this because if you're like, well, you know what, I just have a generator, so I don't need, well, maybe not so much. Or if you just have solar and a battery, you actually really ought to think about putting something of a Savant Power System in place. So with that, let's go a little bit more into detail, and I'm going to just look at Robert in the camera real quick. Robert, if at any time you're like, hey, Trevor, you're lying or you're not telling the entire story, please feel free to jump in. But here, so like let's talk about the backup generator, and I'll keep this high level because it's not necessarily the case for every area in the country. But usually what I see in my area is like there's a generator in place. Some of them are extremely large and can power up an entire house. Let's say it's a 15,000 square foot house, but not every client wants that, can do it because it's possibly too expensive. It's too large. Like I have a vacation home in a kind of like a pretty like secluded area, and they just don't want to see these large footprints around these houses. So maybe it's just not even allowed. They can be noisy, but it can certainly also be expensive to run. So this is where I think we can have a solution for a client, because we can actually minimize or size that generator to just the needs at a given time in the house, and move the electrical footprint around the property where they actually need it at any given time. So you can really resize a generator. Same thing for solar. We have, of course, a solution for solar as well. But solar typically, or maybe only, works when the grid is on, when you're on grid. When it's off grid, you do not have a battery backup, you cannot use your solar, so you're still off the grid. So that's nice that the solar on the roof. Either in my case in New York City, we are not allowed to use batteries. If my grid would be down, luckily it doesn't happen too much, I cannot take advantage of my solar. In some cases, there's also not detailed production. So like I happen to be in my system that I can see some of the production and consumption, but it's not detailed. So I cannot see like, hey, you know what, certain parts of the household are using all of the solar generation. I can actually now really truly narrow down to outlets, specific utilities around the house, you name it. We can be very detailed. Typically, solar generation, when they have the software integration, it's just like a overall consumption data point. And then, of course, the batteries. Like you can, I just had a conversation with a gentleman a little bit earlier out of Florida. Like, look, large house with battery backup in design as well. How much battery can you really install around the house, and like how long can it run with how many loads? So we can be really truly smart about, okay, let's put a decent amount of batteries around the house or inside the house, and then again maximize the battery capacity per usage around the house. Robert, anything you wanted to add here in case I missed something?
No, not so far. You're good.
Cool. So this is basically what we're going to be talking about here. We've got modules that go inside a breaker panel. So you can see here on the right-hand side, that's a standard breaker panel that we use. We've got 20, 30 amp, and 60 amp modules here for most brands. We'll go a little more into detail a little later. But as you can see, it goes into a standard breaker panel. What I kind of always note out in the market here is like, yes, we do require more space, but that's pretty darn easy. In a new construction, you can size it for like the new construction. If it's a retrofit and you got some flex on your Romex or your BX, you know what, you can always like space it out a little more, or simply add another panel to it. It's very easy to scale and pretty inexpensive to scale as well, comparing it to some of the other manufacturers in the market. So with that, it is a scalable solution. You're not fixed. You're not tied to something that's proprietary. If one thing breaks down, the whole entire system is down. If for some reason one of these modules goes down, the rest of the system stays up and running. We'll probably note it a couple of times here during our webinar, but wanted to note here, we are not replacing the breaker. We are adding a companion module to the system. I think in the next slide, I got this really cool video. So let's just look give you an idea of what that looks like. So the standard panel here, right? Don't think we can hear the audio, but you can see these modules. They go right into the panel. They snap in pretty easy, and you see that the breaker actually feeds the module. Each module, well, depending on the type of module, will have 2 circuits, and then the module or the output on the module goes to the load. It could be lighting, it could be refrigerator, anything that needs to be connected to the panel. So you see here, standard electrical panel. Click the modules in place, and your panel just became smart and can manage that the electrical footprint in the house. Robert, I think this is where you wanted to stop in, right? And kind of like walk us through some of these solutions.
Yeah. So on each of the modules that we have, they have a variety of functions. The most critical one is the circuit level relay control. So like Trevor said, there is no overcurrent protection. So we're simply passing the power through to the end product. We have a relay built into the module to turn it on and off according to a certain set of scenes. Within the module, we do have revenue grade energy monitoring. So we are detecting the voltage and the current for that specific circuit. with that, we can use it to calculate the energy production and consumption history. So within the app, you'll be able to see either 24 hours, 48 hours, 72, a month, or a year of data. We do factor in 5-second data and also 1-minute data. So all that data is stored in the cloud. In one of our upcoming release, we will be able to export that data. So, for the homeowners that really want to look at it and kind of nerd out on their statistics for their house, they can actually do that. They have that information. So that kind of goes to, that energy monitoring slide that Trevor had. Since each individual module, or for the 20 amps, have 2 circuits. The 30 amp has 1 circuit, and the 60 amp has 1 circuit. That's where we call this our flexible load management. So now we have independent control of entire circuits, one by one. If you want to turn off only 1 circuit, say turn off the dryer circuit because you don't want to use it during a battery outage, you can do that. If you want to turn on the theater during a battery outage, or during a power outage, and you use battery, you can turn on the theater if you want to do that. So that kind of, even during those the power outages when you're on battery, or when you're on generator, you can change your electrical footprint to fit your needs. So if you want to go into party mode, you can. If you want to save more money, you can. That also kind of leads us into certain time of use scenarios. So if you have extremely expensive power during certain points of the day, we can change your electrical footprint during that time. So, you have your standard loads, your dumb loads. You have dryers, you have your microwaves, you have your stoves that you want to turn these things off, but you don't really, you can't turn them 100% off. So you're going into those vampire loads that Trevor had mentioned earlier. We do have certain, we are residential, but we do have certain amount of commercial applications. The modules themselves will support 3-phase. Anything over that 60 amp module that we have, we will use contactors. So we do a certain amount of light residential that we can monitor the system. That's the most typical use of it. And then on the much larger, on the smaller larger residential or smaller commercial, we can take that and we can manage much larger properties. Since what we see on the screen here is one electrical panel. There's no reason we can't handle several hundred loads using a larger processor. So it is something that is completely expandable. We can go for anywhere from 2 loads all the way up to approximately 500. That is not a problem. So a lot of these houses are just small commercial at that point. The modules themselves are designed with the electrician in mind. So you can give the module to the electrician, and it's very easy, very in and out. They're labeled. We do work with AFCI, GFCI, and combo AFCI, GFCI. Again, and then on that first point, we are a circuit level relay. So we are only working with that hot load. So all your neutrals for the AFCI and GFCI still land the same. I'll get into the application here after this, but we do work with all major load centers, Eaton, CH, the Eaton. There we go. Eaton, we will have the CH version coming out shortly. We will also have the 1-inch or Homeline. I say Homeline not because I'm promoting it, but it's just because it's the common form factor. The GE 1-inch, the ABB 1-inch, Siemens and Schneider QO, as well as 1-inch. The QO is the only one right now that is available on a plug-on neutral variant. Go ahead and hit that slide. So we're kind of opening up the critical load panel. So usually one of the topics that we come across is, well, I have a generator already in my house. What do I do? Well, we can get more from that generator just by putting a smart load panel. So most load panels define a certain set of circuits defined by the homeowner, the electrician, the contractor. Somebody has to make that decision. I want these 5 circuits on when the generator goes out. You know, as people change, lifestyles change, you want to start adding EV chargers. You want to start adding a second panel for the pool. They want to add a guest house. So now we can start, you know, now we could keep adding more modules, more circuits to that panel. As that panel goes, now what do we do? You know, if we're going to go to, you know, with a generator, we're still stuck with those same loads all the time. We have no way to change it. So with the Savant Power with the critical load panels, we call them virtual critical load panels, because now all the circuits can create different critical load panels. So it's like telling your electrician that I want different configurations at different times, but now how do you manage those different critical load panels? And we call them internally energy scenes. So it's much more end user friendly to, you know, to call them scenes. You go to the next, there you go. So this is a good example of, you know, how the generators are typically laid out. And, you know, it does go into the story of, you know, fixed power usage. So, you know, you have your utility on the left, either it's going to be generator or battery. You know, if you're using today's technology, it goes into a transfer switch, power goes out. Now, again, on the bottom, we have the critical load panel. So, you know, you have, you know, 2 lights and the refrigerators that go on. The main panels that don't have any, that are not on that critical load, they go off. So you can't do your laundry. You can't go to the media center. You can't turn on the kids' lights. So, you know, that is, you know, oops. Can you go back one?
Oh.
Or are you telling me to go faster? That's so, you know, one of the things that, oh, did you go back one?
No, just stay on this one.
Okay.
Let's keep going. Yeah.
So, you know, when people are sizing generators, even from, you know, previous times, typically they are undersized. You know, you have this giant house, you have a 20 kilowatt generator. You know, now you have your fixed loads. With ours, now we can manipulate that virtual critical load panel. So you can use that 20 kilowatts in a variety of different ways. Now with the slide here, this has the same generator, battery, transfer switch, and then we have the Savant Power System with the virtual critical load panel. So now we can control, we can control every circuit in the house, so we can support more of the home. So we want to go into a party mode, we want to move over to pool mode, we want to do laundries at different times of day when the house is off grid and either on battery and or on generator. This does reduce the size of the generator that's needed. So now you can take, you know, I used to do work on houses that were, you know, 35,000 square feet. You know, let's put a 60 kilowatt generator out there. Now we can reduce that, we can undersize it. And, you know, now we can just manipulate the loads to maybe use 10 kilowatts instead. Now that's an extreme example, and anybody that has a 35,000 square foot house won't do that. But you could do it if, you know, if it was needed. So we have the ability to make those virtual critical loads. Now we go into kind of, you know, the more current technologies where we're having the battery and the solar. How, you know, battery is a limited power source. Solar is limited during, you know, due to time. How do we manage that fixed power or the power that's going into the house? We can, you know, we can respond to power outages. So something very specific to Savant is how our modules work. Inherent in each of the modules, if we detect a power outage, the modules know themselves without network, they know if they're critical or not. So if power outage comes on, each of the modules know I'm critical, I'm not critical, I'm going to turn off. So when that happens, now we can, use the battery much more smart. So if you have a 20 kilowatt hour battery, now we can extend that. So, if you want to, use the microwave for, you use the microwave, use the oven. And then as the battery does deplete, we can turn off more and more circuits. So as you go down to 50%, now we can 50% battery, we can, reduce the amount of consumption. As we go down to 10, maybe we just leave the refrigerators running and that's it. So, and then that's what we're talking about, with the energy scenes are what we're activating at those various points of state of charge of the batteries. So we're really automating that power in the house to respond to a variety of either manual or automatic actions that we have predefined.
So Robert, why would you, I know the answer already, but I'm gonna ask you, so what would that give you though? And like I said, I know the answer, but I'm gonna let you go ahead and with storage, and how does that help you with storage?
So on the storage, we can, we're just changing how we're using that power, either using the battery, using the solar, and we can, redirect energy usage based on, how the homeowner wants it. So, there's projects where the homeowner, wants to use all the battery during a certain time of use for their personal, use. So at, let's just say 6 o'clock at night, family comes home, they want to, and that's when it's most expensive on the grid, or that's when, in California, that's when they, they get their rolling blackouts. So you know what, 6 p.m., let's throw everything on battery and let's run completely on battery. So we're reducing the amount of cost for the electric, but we're also not depending on the main grid to provide the power. Now at 10 p.m., power typically 10 or 11 o'clock, power goes back cheap. So now we can charge the batteries. You're not going to have the advantage of the solar, but next day, now you can just charge all of the power from the sun and you're charging the batteries for free at that point. So it's really about the management of how you're using that battery. If you don't have a smart power or an automated power panel, you know what? It's just on and off. How are you can't manage the house usages based off state of charge, based off time of use. Maybe you have a small battery and you want to extend it over, 9 hours. Maybe that you have, if you have a giant 384 kilowatt hour battery, you want to run the entire house for a week, then what circuits you need to turn off at that point.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I was thinking is like, you use however much you have for your battery. So say you have 20 kilowatt hour battery set up ish. I mean, you're really doubling the span of time potentially, depending on how you use the power. So it's hard to answer the question, but it gives you so much more time with your storage and generator loads, manipulating them and moving them around. And I personally had a ton of questions because I'm on the nerdy side of understanding this and I want to know front to back. But I was just really, especially with like the Solarc 15K, where we have a pass through of 200 amps, we have now we have the ability to have whole home backup. And with the load control, we're able to extend that amount of time and do what we want with the power that we have.
Right. Yeah. And especially with that 15K, I will say it's nice to not have that transfer switch in there. It just picks up so much faster. Okay. So the benefits of the virtual critical load panel. So I'll talk about the Solarc here and the home grid batteries. So what I really like about this Solarc setup is, yes, like Kyle mentioned, it has that 200 amp pass through. There's no transfer switch. It's built in basically. And you can go in AC coupled, DC coupled. You can bring the batteries into it. You can bring the generator to it. It's the hub of all the power. that's what's feeding the Savant Power System. So now between the Solarc and the home grid and the Savant Power System, now we have complete control over the entire electrical system down to the circuit. Solarc gives us the information that we need. We can manipulate the power as needed, and we can cater to that homeowner's desire and how they want to run their house. So is it solar efficiency? Is it that extended battery life? We can do it. We can prioritize how that power is used. So maybe during the day, we only want to use solar. We only want to use and make sure the batteries are charged up. You just use minimal grid power. We can do that. The nice thing about that Solarc is, yeah, you do have that seamless transition. So Solarc goes to battery. That is instant. There's no transfer switch for that, since it has the 200 amp pass through. And it acts very, I believe it's a 4 millisecond transfer time to go from outage to battery. Kyle can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. From the Savant Power System, once we've made that power transition, we can easily manage the loads, change it based on time of use pricing, based off of the different seasons. So we do have like seasonal scenes. So at that point, the homeowner can completely change how he uses it when it's in summertime and in wintertime, based off of different solar solar footprints. So if they're generating more or less during certain times of the day. So with the Savant, we do, this goes to our energy monitoring part. It's an award-winning energy experience. So one of the things that we do is, is to present all the most important information that a homeowner would want to see. I've seen Trevor's solar system, and you can see it, panel by panel, see what each block is, producing. But on a day-to-day experience, seeing this dashboard is what really matters to the homeowner. What mode am I in? How much am I using from the grid? How much am I exporting, producing, and how much is ready to use from the battery? We can see the live consumption. We can see the state of charge for the battery. So if as the battery depletes itself during a power outage, we can see the state of charge, how much battery is being used, and also when the power comes back on, we can actually see how long the battery is going to take to get back to 100%. We do have like the pretty widget down there in the bottom right to show power flow. It's just a very simplistic view of what the house is doing and how it's consuming power. The most people
I think, Robert, oh, sorry. I was going to add, I think what's also very interesting, two things that I see in my system, there's a bit of a history in here as well, right? Where you can see over time, hey, you've been using XYZ more on these circuits than yesterday. It's pretty interesting data there as this app evolves. And the other thing is that you can personalize this. This is something else that Savant is very strong around. If you're hey, I want to see that power flow first thing on my phone, when I open it up, you can actually hold that widget down for a brief second and move it around to your liking. So it's a high level of personalization here as well. Sorry, Robert.
Yeah, no problem. So what Trevor was talking about is that top consumers widget at the very top right. Since we do record all the history down to, I believe it is 5 years. The first thing, during the first 2 months of having an energy system, homeowner is going to be all geeked out. He's going to be looking at all the widgets, looking at every single detail of this dashboard. The most important one is probably going to be that top consumers, where they can actually see what they're consuming. They may not know that their garage lights are consuming 1,000 watts. The kids just leave the lights on, not a problem, not thinking of it. Now you can actually tell the kids, how much you're spending. The other interesting way to look at this and use this top consumers is maybe you start seeing patterns in the house.
Oh, are we losing Robert? Cal, you can still hear us?
Yeah,
Do
you're
you
clear
want
with
to
me.
or chart?
Look,
Robert, we lost you for a little bit, but I'll go to the next slide.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is yeah, we lost you. You broke up. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we go into these modes here. This is actually the perfect scene here. As you go to Storm Watch. So, this slide was actually created because of our owner that's on the Cape, who does have those storms. So he can press a button and engage this mode so that the batteries are at 100% at all time for 72 hours. So for that 72 hours, he knows that the batteries are done, power goes out, he will be at maximum charge. We do have the flexibility of adjusting this storm watch. So you're not, let's say, you can shut down all the major appliances. You can stop charging your EV or reduce charge on your EV. The other things that we have, like the notification, so power outage detected. So if you're, if Trevor's away from his vacation home, he knows that the power is out at his other house. We can continually watch where that battery status is. So it's 86%. Okay, well, I'm not at the house, so I'm going to make sure that the house runs even longer. I'm going to start turning off the air conditioning, turn off the EV chargers, turn off the heater, and maybe drop the AC down to, or turn the AC up to like 82 degrees in the house. By default, though, we do have our essentials. So those circuits are the base loads that we have. So your refrigerator, your certain amount of outlets, grandmother's ventilator, all those basic circuits. Sorry, that was coming on. Those circuits that are very critical, that need to stay on. Those will stay on at all times if the power goes out. Here's a better look of the energy dashboard. And what Trevor was kind of getting into is, we do have that concept of the different widgets. So you can have the large view of the total energy dashboard, the power flow. So these are all like, we're kind of going like they're widgets. So you can move these widgets around as you're liking. And then as you select a widget, you can go deeper into it. So that power flow, now you can just see, you can see how much you're consuming from the grid, from the solar or the battery. The top consumers there, you can see on an easy to read graph as to how everything lays out. So if you're, you can easily see how much that pool is consuming. Maybe it's 8 kilowatts, and why is it consuming 8 kilowatts? It's hot outside. The pool heater shouldn't be on. So you have that type of analytics to just kind of pop up there. So if you wanted to, it's 110 degrees outside. Why is the pool heater on? So we can manually turn off that pool heater as needed. Kind of going into like, the history and insights. This is what I'm talking about. You kind of see, you start seeing patterns for different pieces of equipment in the house. So, I think that's like 6 o'clock right there where the power usage goes up. So, you know what? Let's go all on battery at that time. And you know what? Let's cut the grid off and let's just go battery. And we can run everything on battery. We can manage the loads. We know what scenes we want. We know what loads we need in that when we're in that battery situation. On the right side are our energy scenes. Now, these are all customizable by the homeowner or the integrator. We do have base scenes. So, you have those critical loads that are always going to be on, like the refrigerators. But it also opens it up to the homeowner creating their own scenes to say, I want to do laundry during a power off outage or a power outage. Or I have a scene for high utility rates. In Las Vegas, our house is between the hours of 11 and 7 in the evening. Power goes up to 63 cents from 6 cents. So, going to battery at that time would be optimal for me. Vacation mode, we can, change the set points for the HVAC, as well as, turn off rooms that don't need to be on. The kids went off to college, turn that room off. You don't have those vampire loads for the PS4 and the PS5 and the PS3 and the TV.
So now you're burning about 100 watts there. So you can turn that kid's room off that you don't need. One of the things that we kind of pride ourselves on is that we have this very quick and installation setup that is available for iOS and Android. And there is also a UI on each of the screens. So the intent is that we can configure the companion modules on the screen, get it labeled, so you can send your junior tech on there. And when once the junior tech is finished naming all the circuits, we have a step-by-step app on iOS and in Android where we can further configure the modules, and we can configure out where each of those modules are in the power panel. We configure the power sources. So if there's a generator, if there's a home grid, if there's a solar system, if there is a main grid, we configure that right there. And then, it just kind of walks you through that whole process until you are, finished with it. The dealers finished with that install process. And on the far right there, we do have the ability to create core scenes. So that's your critical load scenes that as the integrator, you're going to push out.
Hey, and Robert, this app is free available. There's actually no cost except for the hardware to the system. But like anybody that wants to get kind of like take a peek at it, download the app. It's really designed with the installer in mind, true and tested at some properties already, and has evolved over time. It's really, really easy for anyone basically with a phone to set up any system. And in the end, Robert, but this is what you get again, right? So like this really easy to use user interface for the end user with like a couple of pieces of hardware, a really great, easy setup tool for you as the installer, and then again back to a great user experience for the client with one single app. That I think that is something that we have to remind ourselves of, not using multiple apps around the household to figure out what's going on. It's one app, one set of notifications that are coming through if the system is off the grid, and then and again personalization in the app, and also the ability to just like, hey, I know I'm in a certain mode, like Robert said earlier, but I do want to turn on the microwave, or maybe it is the family living room or the family room TV to keep the kids quiet. You can always go in and make your own override as well. So thank you, Robert. That leads us to kind of like a little bit more of what else we have to offer. So folks on the phone, we've got two very well decked out experience centers. One is right here in New York City. I'm the lucky one that gets to work out of this house once in a while, or this loft. It's right in the heart of Soho. We have a energy lab there. So for the folks that are more, maybe it's your customer that you want to bring along, want to see like more of the bits and pieces that go into the system. But as you can see in the top picture, it's very residential. Kind of think of it as a tool for us to kind of get a client in there and make it as comfortable as possible and show them how easy it is to use this complicated software. Like we build software to bring like these complicated solutions together into a simple to use app. And trust me, like we sell so many systems out of these places because the client gets away with like, this is actually really easy to use. I love it. So we've got the technology side of it and also like the residential side of it. And as you can see, and Robert just brought this system up in Las Vegas. This is a heck of a house, 20,000 square feet that you can see already. You see that the image there, that's just the living room with big open sliding doors. It's fully integrated. I think I've got an image here. We just skip to this guy here of like what we've installed in this place. I think, Robert, you've been to this property a couple of times as well during the deployment phase. It is impressive, right? I think it's like one of the largest or the largest residential solar installation in the state. There, we got battery backup, a home grid, solar inverters everywhere. It's impressive. So just to give you an idea, like if you want to see it, if you want to show it to some of the clients, and as a matter of kind of like, yes, this is up and running in multiple properties out there. So maybe get a little bit to the nuts and bolts of it. It's actually honestly just a couple of slides here, closing in on the hour. what goes into a system. So basically, like as a kind of like the main piece in the system that we always need, we call them a director. Think of it like as your process or your computer on the property to make everything work. We have one single device there that you always want in every single system, and we call it the director. You can see a couple of the key features here, but like what Robert was just describing throughout is like that the ability to connect to these to the modules that are in the panel, being able to get to a client like a very easy to use user interface, an app that all communicating with the Savant director here through the cloud. So as you can actually see there on this device, it is a small kind of like square box. Got antennas to communicate to the modules that are going into the panel. Look at 40 modules with any of these directors. It sits on the LAN. So through the LAN, it actually has then the connection out to the cloud. And so this way we are remotely able to connect to a system and get you those notifications for our cloud and exclusive Savant cloud. We've got some voltage sensor inputs, like with each one of these systems, once you start adding the GTs to like a circuit that we are not controlling for a module, we can also like monitor them. So we can do certainly like a hybrid of monitoring and controlling some of these circuits. And then there are 15 current transformer CT inputs on there for all of those circuits. So simply said, like you need one of these in every single one of the jobs. And then come the modules. So as you saw a little bit earlier in that animated video there, we need modules inside the electrical panel. And again, there are companion modules. We are not replacing the breakers. Breaker feeds the module. And basically, like we've got a simple, straightforward selection here of the 20, 30, 60 amp, and then a control relay for the larger loads out there. Today, they are shipping for the, and Robert, jump in if I'm saying it wrong, because I don't know all the terminology here. But we've got them readily available now for the Square D QO load center in these formats. And very shortly, we'll also have, again, because we had them before, the 1-inch modules as well. The QO panels, the QO modules come in a plug-on neutral or a pigtail. So two different options available depending on the panel you have. Whereas the 1-inch will be pigtail modules only. They'll be available months, maybe 2 months from now. So we can ship you then those other designs as well. But these are basically like the two, what am I saying? The director and these modules that make the system. You certainly can add the CT clamps. We make those available as well. And if you need to, we can expand on the energy monitoring also. I wanted to give you a bit of an idea of like what an installation could look like. We see basically two different styles there. Like in this image, this is a live, well, this is a shot of like one of our early installations at Bob Madonna's, our owner's house, where we did have the breaker panel, like on the left, a standard breaker panel completely filled up there, and then a separate electrical panel for all the modules. So kind of like a dedicated panel. We see this, by the way, also in lighting installs. So we do also like a lot of lighting installs as well. And hopefully that will carry over sometime early next year into our solutions as well. And you can deploy even some lighting solutions. But for now, energy. So here we can say like, you know what, I'm going to keep my breakers in one panel, and I'll wire the circuits over to a dedicated panel, put all my modules in one area. There's no really kind of like you must do it this way or this is the better way. It's just honestly kind of like preference. And here's a mixed panel deployment, one that I like a lot because your breaker would technically sit right above your module. And so you kind of like know which breaker feeds what. But you can certainly do a mixed panel. And again, like Robert mentioned earlier as well, we can scale this. If you're like, hey, I'm running out of space. Okay, no worries. Get another electrical panel and just keep on scaling this to any size of your property. So again, two kind of like options here, a dedicated panel or a mixed panel.
Hey, Trevor, can you go back?
Yeah.
We have
one.
One person here. Most electrical panels I encounter are full or close to it. It's concerning that these use breaker spaces. Can you speak to the design and how you are handling the space issue in the breaker panels? So There are two different ways of configuring the breaker panels. One is on the screen here with mixed panels. Obviously, this panel specifically has been, planned out. We know what the loads are. We know, what's going to be controlled. There is, there's not a lot of space in here. The other way to do it is like this. You have the breakers on one panel and you have companion modules on the second panel. That is another way to install it. The third way that's not going to be on here is when I run into these specific questions. Keep in mind when you don't have that room, you don't have to control every single circuit. Think of only controlling the major loads. So when everything in my house are turned off, all the major items are turned off, microwave, oven, AC compressor, and all those are turned off. And my rack is powered off. I only consume about 500 watts in my house. If everything turns on, then I'm consuming about 5,000 to 7,000 watts. So it's a matter of, you may run out of space, but keep in mind, you don't need every single circuit controlled. You may want to monitor the mains, but you don't have to have every single circuit controlled. If you want those major loads controlled, then yes, you will have to put it into a panel on the side to control just those major loads.
Comparative would be like Robert said, you said it, so now I can say it. So grandma's ventilator would be number one. It would not receive a module. A sump pump would not receive a module. A well pump would not receive one. Because those are your primary loads, and your more toggleable, if you will be like your heat pump, your EV charger, your pool pump, these other items that aren't required to run all the time. So not every single circuit will receive a module.
Okay. Hey, Robert, I think we want to show you kind of like the scalability of the system. Like there are some other brands out there as well. Thank goodness, because we need more and more solutions like that, but some are more proprietary than others. As you can tell, I think folks on the phone here or on the webinar with us, like we're pretty non-proprietary. I don't know what the right word for it is, but we can put it in any electrical panel and scale it to any size. And so here we've got like a neat sized system here, but we can go to any possible type of job if we want to. I don't know, Robert, if you wanted to like inject anything here. I did want to make clear, like bring the job to all of us, and we'll have to engineer it. It's probably not a job too large in my mind.
Yeah, there's that's actually the key piece about that 15K coming out. I don't know if you also saw that it just got its CEC as well. So being able to have that 200 amp run through it is key. And then the homeowners can just add as much battery as they want to it. So there is once you get to systems this large, I mean, down here we have done systems that are 384 kilowatt hours. That's obviously at Bob's house, but there's the system right there. It comes out very clean, and it's just super flexible. You can go in AC coupled, DC coupled. Those Solarcs are the hub of the system, and we're just telling Solarc do this, do that, according to what scene we want to trigger.
Cool. Hey, and with everything that we do today, right? Like you need your support. So we do have it's practically like 24/7 tech support. So any of the installers can call in for any help. We've got a dedicated website for this as well. We have besides the support link here, we've got a university also. So it's like, hey, I want to learn a lot more about this. So we have a university available. Think of it like there's resources everywhere you need it. You can get it, I'm sure, locally from Supplied Energy. We have our own technical sales managers. We're happy to, if really needed, like maybe jump on site when it's like really required. But again, also like on our website, on our university, plenty of materials. So we've been doing this for a long time, and just happy to help out. wanted to maybe give you a little bit of a highlight of what else is coming, not too far off at least. So I mean, there's so much more coming next year, but just to give you a bit of a sense, like, hey, these guys at Savant, we're not sitting still. It's something that Robert and Kevin, I think, is still there as well. Like, we're nonstop. Like, hey, we got more to test. We do a lot of testing in house, and it makes it fun. Sometimes exhausting, right, Robert? Like the amount of stuff that we always come up with. But it's certainly like we're always looking like, hey, what else do we need to address? And we're pretty good at it. That's why I joined the company a while ago. So yes, we do see those big jobs as well, but sometimes you just need to have something a little bit more basic, just some modules to control. So remember those companion modules, and we really don't need any monitoring. I just want to be able to control maybe up to 20 modules. So we came out basically with a director light. We know, we've seen already a couple of price points, but I figured let's wait until it's actually finalized. But like a very aggressive price point with some neat new features as well. So you can actually see one of them here, wired and wireless network. Today, the director is on a LAN connection, but we're going to move forward with also a wireless option as well, and PoE. So in the case of certain installations, if you run a category cable to a PoE network switch, we can even power it up directly over a category cable. So we're adding more and more flexibility to installs. We're seeing many different types of installs out there. And I think one of the last ones I'm looking at right now is like a newer version of our director, not this particular one. There's also going to be an option for cellular support. We don't always find networking on site. And so I think, Robert, you've been going through a couple of exercises to get some connection going here. In a future directive, for the directive V2, you'll see also some cellular support as well. So anyway, like another directive joining the family. So as we continue forward, you'll see many more options. Another piece that will be coming in the next couple of months is a SEM modules. So what we didn't highlight really in a particular slide is that we have it incorporated in the current director. We have a separate SEM, this is Savant Energy Monitoring module, that we can always add onto a system. We are actually building it into a module, as you can see the image, where you can simply just like tap this right into your electrical panel, which then monitors 2 circuits directly there. Like your CTs will just wire directly into this module. Let me just say in short, it just really cleans up the wiring in the panel. I've got, gosh, I think about 14 or so CTs running in my electrical panel. It's not the prettiest of all installations, not because I'm such a clump in it, but it's just like a lot of wire that runs around that electrical panel. Here we have like just a single module for that just up to had 2 circuits. You can certainly add multiples if you want to keep it in that panel. You want to actually monitor a couple of more circuits. You can just add multiples of those as well. So that's coming shortly. And then also what we're adding is more insight to the homeowner of like what the conditions are, like if certain conditions are running in the house, but also being able to like see more when they're creating a scene of like what is in that scene, like very visually, very graphic display for the homeowner to make it as easy as possible for them to create a scene. And then the other thing is that we're adding also is see if I've got a slide on that, is folders. What we're seeing is like there are many scenes now available in the Savant app, and being able to actually kind of like sort them into one single folder. So like here's an example of where you see the energy scenes, but there could be multiple scenes, like 4 scenes within that folder. So like you can create have multiple layers of scenes and not you're not searching endlessly in all of your scenes. I think that leads us to kind of like our last slide. I wanted to like thank everybody again for joining us. Thank you, Supplied Energy, for giving us the opportunity to present this to your customers. Super exciting to roll this out and possibly to do more of these. Kyle, Harrison, do you want to add anything else? Any questions that we can answer here? Like, well, I'm going to say Robert can answer for us.
Looks like we did have a question that Robert got to, and there is an installer program online that Robert just answered. But yeah, so for orders, please send those to, or really anything for Supplied Energy, please send that to support@suppliedenergy.com. And we are offering 60% off of retail discount on your first order to try it out. We know that you're going to like it. We're here to back you up on the bill of material and on actually putting it in. And this product has tons of versatility. There are other companies in the space. I mean, Savant does have competitors, but we chose not to go down that path because we were waiting on a product just like this, something with the versatility. And notice you use the existing load center. You do not pull it out. You do not rewire everything, and there you use common electrical items to pull off this installation. So just want to make sure that we point that out, and there's lots of different methods to be able to achieve the goals, and every house, every application is different. So we really like the versatility you guys are giving us, and the partnership and the camaraderie, and I'd like to give Robert a hard time. So anyways, we'll be having more webinars coming up. We will be having additional Savant webinars that we've talked about for more details, getting more technical. But next we'll be having Home Grid. Spencer will be giving us the rundown on Home Grid products that work with Savant, and that will be, I believe, on what, September 7th. And Harrison, you got anything else, or am I?
No, that's all for me. Just again, thank you all for coming to the webinar today, and submit your details to support@Supplied Energy. We really hope to do business with you. Thank you again.
Awesome. Hey, and any of you online with us, if you're visiting SPI, make sure to get an appointment with Supplied Energy.
Give another minute for some questions
team.
here. Are there any other questions? Put them in the Q&A.
Trevor, was that?
Sorry?
I think we had internet lag or something there. Trevor, you were saying SPI and reservations there. If anybody does plan on attending SPI, we will be there as well. We'd love to meet you in the Savant booth. I'm for sure going. Travis is going. I'm not sure who else from our team is going, but I would love to meet you at a time there so we can talk to Trevor, Robert, Dan, and the team there, and just get your hands on it. You know, everybody probably on here knows that I'm not the smartest person in the world, so I had to hold it. I had to look through it. I had to really understand it, and once I did, I finally got it, and that's why we think it's awesome. So, anyways, we'll sign out, and thank you so much, everyone. Trevor, Robert, everyone that attended, and we'll send out the recording soon.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.